Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria, and I'm joined by my best friend and co host.
Miosha.
And we are back to review Love is Blind season 7. They are in DC this season. And for this episode, we're going to do Love is Blind season 7, episodes 1 through 4. And then we'll be back with 5 and 6, just so you guys can follow along because there's a lot of stuff in the first 6 episodes. But before we get into that, if you are watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and of course, meet us in the comments to let us know your thoughts. If you agree or disagree with some of the things we're saying, we'd love to hear in the comments below. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and writing a review. And also know we have a YouTube community, so if you ever want to see our expressions, you are welcome to join us there as well at Girlfriends and Goals Podcast. All right, that's enough of the intro. Let's start with like any initial impressions that you had of anybody who stood out at the beginning for you.
Ashley A. Absolutely beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, when she said, "Oh, I don't know why I'm still single," I agree. I mean, obviously from looks, and then we see her personality later on. I'm
Hmm.
like, man, this woman is definitely a catch. But at the same time, I think it kind of leans into the idea that you have to be perfect to be chosen, and that's not always the case. So.
Yeah, and also being a catch, also, it just doesn't guarantee anything, unfortunately. So for us, we're like,
Mhm.
there is no way that she made it on this show. I felt the same way about Lauren in the first season. Like, there have been people over
Mhm.
the seasons who I felt that way about. My first impression of Hannah, I was like, I don't want to say too much about them before the pods, but I thought Hannah quitting her job immediately made her interesting. But because she's in medical device sales, I feel like it won't be difficult for her to get another job just from everything that I've heard about that particular field. So maybe she knows what she's doing.
But even if she does know what she's doing, my first impression was, girl, you're 26.
Hmm.
You feel like
Hmm.
you've exhausted all resources. It goes back to what we said in previous seasons around, I think this type of process or show feels like a last ditch effort almost. I don't know, maybe not last ditch, but I don't know. I would expect older participants. So at 26, I'm thinking, she said, "Oh, I have my dream job. I have
Right.
all the success. I have all the things." So you think to quit your job to come on this show makes sense? So
You,
yeah,
yeah. You just graduated college 4 or 5 years ago. Like you haven't even given yourself a chance to get your adult legs fully. Not to say that
and
people who are 26 cannot be interested in marriage at that time. I totally get that. It's just that this process is very extreme.
and on top of that, I think we can see from other people's first impression of her, just hearing her age, they're like, "Oh, that's young. That's a bit young." We heard that a few times
Hmm.
in regards to her. So, and that's not to say that young people can't find love. It's just the majority of the people on this show, I would say, are 29. You're
Hmm.
you're going into 30, baby. you're you're over the
Yeah.
milestone.
And we commented on this. This is the last thing I'll say. We commented on this with Love is Blind UK, where we appreciated the age range because it felt like,
Mhm.
okay, these are people who maybe are settled on what they want. They're settled in their personalities. And you could tell like the maturity of the decisions that were made a lot of the time. That's something you can do at a certain age. So Demi saying Ollie's a good guy, but he's just not my guy. She's known enough about herself over the years to say, hey, not really what I'm interested in for a romantic relationship.
Mhm.
So yeah, 26. And Hannah particularly is a young 26. So she's not like a mature 26 where you can say, okay, this
Mhm.
person, even though they have this lower age number,
Mhm.
they're mature. I don't want to say wise beyond years because on the internet, people are like, oh, people who are wise beyond their years usually have some type of trauma that caused them to grow up too soon. But Hannah's a very immature 26.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right. Let's go into Ashley A and Tyler. So she's 31,
Hmm.
a marketing director, and he's 33 and a nuclear security officer or something. Do you have pictures of these people?
No, I
Okay.
don't. Yeah, maybe we'll pull it up for the next one,
Yeah.
but I feel like the episodes have been out like for a while. I think people may
People know.
know what people look like,
Okay.
but we'll do it for the next one. So, yeah, he's a nuclear security officer. Not sure what that is. I'm assuming you guard a nuclear facility.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
It,
y'all
it
let us
could
know in the
be something.
comments.
It could be white collar or blue collar, like just based on the title. You just don't know
Yeah,
which way it goes.
true. That's true. Could be
But
from a tech perspective. Yeah. So they seem to have a lot in common. He loves being outdoors. He cooks,
which
which
was a
seems to be a
plus.
big plus for her. She said her previous guys have never cooked. Um, my first impression of Tyler was he seemed to be excited. Um, but I thought it was interesting that he shared basically that he was biracial. And I thought that they aren't supposed to be sharing much about their physical appearance. So, but I understood why because it ties into the story he was telling about his mom and just some of the trauma that was there around how he was raised. But I put, Tyler, you're not supposed to give away the fact that you're half Serbian.
Yeah, and I guess he could have maybe done the story without saying, because he said his mom is, was it German or something? I don't remember what he said.
Serbian.
Serbian?
Hmm.
Okay. I didn't remember, I didn't write that down. But it seems like a huge part of his development. And so I want to give him a pass, but you're right. Now she knows, okay, he's kind of mixed. I thought he was very nervous, but his nerves seemed genuine. Like I don't think he was
Mm,
trying to fake being nervous. I think he really was like,
hmm.
oh, this is
Shaking
happening.
up.
And I found that to be a bit endearing initially.
Yeah,
Like,
she did
okay,
too.
yeah, there's like a vulnerability about it that I thought was really cool.
Hmm.
And then they vibed really well. They talked about kids on their first meetup, which I thought was unexpected.
But it makes sense. I mean, kids,
Yeah,
finances, get right to it.
get
Don't
to
waste
it.
our time. Even though Netflix will still find a way to draw out these episodes in unnecessary ways, but I'm here for it. Get to it because if she had expressed she didn't want kids or vice versa, then okay, this probably is a
It's a
no
wrap.
go. Keep it moving. So yeah, they have a lot
And
in common, and
yeah, and it flowed naturally. So it didn't seem like it was a forced thing, like, oh, I have to check this off my list and know if this person wants kids. It just happened naturally as a part of the conversation. I love his positivity. So
mhm.
I think she mentioned something about, oh, yeah, if I walk out here with someone or something. And he goes, you will walk out here with someone. I just liked,
Mm,
like at the end of the day, we're going to find out if we're leaving with someone or not. So why not approach it in a positive way? Like, we don't know what's
mhm,
going to happen in the next episodes. It could be a whole lot of negative things. You'll have time for negativity if that's what this journey calls
mhm.
for you. Like, you might as well start off
It felt
positively.
serious in that they got to the point on the big questions that matter, but lighthearted enough to show how they
Yeah.
have things in common. I liked the balance of it, and apparently he did too. I wrote, he's already in love.
He was excited when he left that pod, wasn't he?
Hmm. He
Yeah,
liked
I love
everything
that
he
for him.
heard.
So we're
Hmm.
gonna talk more about them later on in the episode, like the next date they had, which was
Hmm.
the one about gender roles.
Hmm.
And again, he gave genuine to me. So when he talked
Hmm.
about, oh, I don't necessarily expect my wife to cook because I can cook, you know,
Hmm.
I don't think he was saying that to impress her or saying that because he
Hmm.
knew, like, there are other people on this cast who were saying the right things because they felt like this is what this person wants to hear. But he
Hmm.
seemed genuine, especially about uh, the gender roles. Like when he said, "Oh, I cooked breakfast for everybody," and she said, "Oh, me too," and she made
Eggs.
eggs. And she thought she was doing something with her eggs, and he said, "What did he make?" Oh, I forgot,
Stuffed
but he
French
made more.
toast.
Stuffed French toast. That's right. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't even know you could stuff French toast. So,
He said, "Watch me work, baby.
okay.
Watch me work." Yeah.
So yeah, he said he wants to be a protector. Which, if I were Ashley's friend, that's the type of stuff that I would want to have someone say to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated hearing that. He talked about how he could do it all, but he didn't want to come off arrogant. And I don't think he did. But yeah,
Yeah.
I hope they work out so they can go skydiving the day before their wedding.
Yeah. I enjoyed them. I'm excited for them as a couple. Tyler, you better be genuine. Don't.
He better be. Do not have us out here thinking we're getting a Brett and we're getting a Clay. So, you know what I like about him? He saw his mom struggle, and sometimes you see that as, oh, well, my mom had to do a million things, so my wife should be able
Mhm.
to. But it seems like he's trying to prevent a strain on his partner. So instead
Mhm.
of saying stuff, well, I want a wife who cooks for our kids and our
Mhm.
grandkids when they come over, he's assuming that position. Like, I want my kids and grandkids over because Tyler's cooking today. And so
Mhm.
it's like he has this model of what he wants life to look like, and he's not imposing that on his partner. He's stepping
An
into the
active
role that he
participant.
wants. Right. He's like, I want this, so I'm going to make it happen. So I appreciate
Mhm.
that. And then at the end of the episode, he said, "You my girlfriend, I'm telling people." I said, "Ooh,
That's it.
period, Tyler." Let her know. But one thing that scared me, I don't know if it's going to come up ever, but when he went back to talk to the guys, he was saying like how he appreciates this experience because he's shut off in the real world. And I'm like, okay, seeing that you guys have to go back to the real world, how is this going to come to play? And we won't see them in the real world for a little while, at least until these episodes coming up, maybe. But
Hmm.
I
Yeah, he
just,
said something about in the real world, he this may not have worked out because he's used to shutting people off. Like if she's really attractive, he may date her, but then emotionally move on. Maybe he would
yes,
feel inferior. And if it was the opposite, he would just run all over and play games. And
that
then,
scared me. I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie. I was like, okay, is he
People
gonna have it
always
together?
seem to have all these epiphanies when they get ready to come on this show, and we just need to see the action.
So I'd be interested to see how that plays out. All right, the next person who was interesting to me was Nick Dorka, who is a 28-year-old realtor.
Mm-hmm.
He asked that first girl he was talking to, I don't remember who it was, but he was like, "Oh, do you think your friends would be impressed with me?" And to me, that communicated that maybe he cares too much about how he appears, whether that's genuinely him or not. He might be
Mm-hmm.
the type to pay attention to what people like and then do it so that he can gain their approval.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's too early to be saying that about him because it was the first impression I had of him, but
Mm-hmm.
he could hopefully prove me wrong.
Yeah, my first impression of him, and maybe I'm reaching, but this is another one where I understood why he he said it because it's a part of his story, but how he kept reiterating how he was the kicker and the punter. Every if you watch any type of football, even in passing, we know kickers and punters all have a so they all basically look the same.
Do they look like Nick? I don't know football.
Petite, smaller
Okay.
build,
Okay.
typical frames because it's a very routine job.
Mm.
So him reiterating that, I wrote, you're giving up something pretty big about your physical appearance
Miosha,
without
you're the
saying,
you're the appearance police. She's like, yeah, Tyler, you shouldn't have said you were biracial. Yeah,
This
Nick,
is
you
Love
shouldn't
is
have.
Blind. I mean, and guess what? She said well, I don't want to jump to that, but
But
really quick, in his date with Hannah, she's
yeah.
like, "Well, oh, I was a cheerleader." Another
Mhm.
appearance thing, and she knows if you were a cheerleader, you know how a kicker punter usually looks.
Yes. But you're also setting that we can go into the date with Hannah. The only other thing I had about Nick before that date was that all the ladies were clocking that he was a smooth talker.
It's almost like he planned to come in laying it on thick on everyone, but it sort of backfired. It rubbed, I think, people a bit the wrong way as a first impression. Like, whoa, you're doing way too
Too
much.
much for day one.
Yeah, another thing I wrote is, yeah, he's clearly been hanging around some football players with his vernacular.
Really?
telling her she looked like a whole snack.
Oh.
Yeah, a few other things he said too. I'm like, yeah, you've been hanging out with some black people.
So if he tells her like, "Oh, I'm looking for my one and only," it just felt to me like he was reading from a book of questions or a book of things to say. And I wrote down, "Get to know them. Stop trying to perform," because it did feel like a performance. But I thought he and Hannah were very similar in that way. Like they're trying to give off how they look already. He wants people to know he's an athlete and a very specific kind of athlete. I didn't know that kickers and punchers look a certain way, but I assumed
Mm-hmm.
that people would be able to gather what he looked like based
Mm-hmm.
on that. And then her saying, "Oh, I was a cheerleader," which could translate into what she looks like or how athletic she is. Um, in
And
this
she
first
made
episode,
sure to drop in there. She who also dated the
the
quarterback.
quarterback. Yes, but also we're a long way from high school and bodies change. So it's always concerning to me. Like, the people who peak in high school, like like they were the cheerleader dating the quarterback, and that's their like, that's
Yeah.
their story for the rest of their life. It's like you have been out of high school for 9 years at this
Mm,
point, and that's your
girl.
claim to fame. Was that you were a
Even
cheerleader and
for
you did it?
him, at 28, even if you played in the CFL, okay, you've had some years probably of just working.
Mm-hmm.
And so why is this so much a part of your story?
Yeah, tell
Mm.
me about the real estate you sell. Let's talk about that. You haven't been a kicker and a punter in a long time, sir. Yes. In the first episode, I said somebody told Hannah she looks good in green, and she ran with it because every outfit was green. But she was cute. Later on, they had another date, so I think we can talk
Mm-hmm.
about this date before we go into Leo and Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
They agreed that she'll be his, or he said she'll be his Taylor Swift, and he will be her Travis Kelsey, which he thinks he looks better than Travis Kelsey. I'm not going to comment on people's looks, um, but I felt like they conversed about nothing. Ugly
And
babies, her
it
mama
goes
smoke
back
show. Like,
to my question after their date was, what's the real connection here? I
is the
didn't,
connection in the room with us?
other than him trying to charm her,
Yeah.
which he really wasn't that charming to me, I didn't understand the connection. And she seemed interested because he seemed interested.
Yeah, it was a very shallow connection, if that's what we can even call it. I love that Marissa, who's the law clerk 31, she was like, "Hannah, this man is not the love." It was a little blunt. She said it with a laugh, but no, really, this man is not the love of your life. And Hannah keeps saying something like, uh, you know, I feel like this man's gonna break my heart, or she says, "I know so much about stuff." What do you know? I'm so curious. Like, what is it that you know? So she
I
gives me a little
I
delusional.
think she was referencing the fact of how he presents himself, being this charmer, smooth guy, because she said something around the fact of like, oh, I don't think you have trouble finding someone in the real world. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think she's trying to connect the dots on, if you're this smooth, you say you were an athlete, so you have the looks, you have the personality, why are you here? But then he flips it on her and he's like, well, why are you here? So I
Yeah.
think she's trying to wrap her brain around how the actions don't really line up. Like the way he's presenting himself. If you're this smooth and you have the looks, you don't. Why are you here? You could get women in real life, and he's
It,
younger too. He's 28.
28. Is he smooth though? I don't know. It's like he wants to be smooth.
Smooth to them.
He's he's a he's a smooth talker wannabe. Like, but there's nothing. It's giving clumsy though. And that's fine. Like that could be a personality thing. Like some people are awkward. They want to come off as
Hmm.
suave or whatever, but you're just an awkward person. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that's something to lean into. I would prefer awkward over smooth.
Yeah. Something that she also said, I got mixed feelings for Hannah because initially in her confessional scene, she was talking about maybe some insecurities around her physical appearance. But then later on, I think it was in the same episode, she also says like, "Oh well, guys just only want me because I'm hot." And but then she was talking about feeling insecure about her body. I wrote, Hannah, which one is it?
And I'm not here to comment on people's looks, but I don't know, some of the things that she says just give me delusional. And yeah, I don't know if she's talking about a past self or a present self. Like, I
Mm,
don't know with Hannah. Should we go into her date with Leo?
mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Leo. So
Yeah,
the
let's talk
first
about Leo
time,
first.
yeah, the first time we meet him, I think is with Hannah. And I felt
Hmm.
like his vibe was very chill. Initially, I thought they don't match at all. He seemed way more reserved and she was just chatty, chatty, chatty. So
Hmm.
I was like, maybe let him talk a little bit. But then he kind of seemed to perk up during their conversation. And that changed my mind. I'm like, okay, maybe so there's a good balance. Like maybe he's more chill and her being a talker pulls things out of him. So I was a little confused after their first interaction.
I think it was because he talked about his profession briefly, and when she was like, oh, "Okay, keep it moving," that don't have nothing to do with me.
She paid his profession dust.
So I think that interests him in of like, oh, okay, maybe she wouldn't just want me for my money, even though I think he doesn't mind people wanting him for his money.
No, he wants them to. People do this thing where they'll be like, oh, people only want me because I am cute and petite. And then when people don't comment on them being cute and petite, it's an issue. That is Leo with his money and with his profession.
And I'm
Okay.
sorry, real quick,
Yes.
let's talk about all this money that he conveniently has,
Okay.
because was it four of his family members that died in 3 years?
Yes. It was a lot in a short period of time. All from
Okay.
cancer, which,
My response is okay. Let's
yeah. He wants people to be impressed, but then he uses that against them. Like, how dare you be impressed with my money?
And I get from him, I have money, but I'm stingy with it too. And maybe that's how you keep your money. You know,
You don't think he gives generous?
no. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay, so I agreed with you. I thought he was surprised she didn't ask much about the job, and he was trying to lead her in that direction. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
someone who isn't interested in this, she must not know what it is. So let me, lead her the right way so that she's asking more about it.
And she ain't got no job.
Oh, you're right. But also, if she was a high performer in medical device
Mm-hmm.
sales, maybe that type of money, like maybe she's doing okay for herself. Like she's probably okay enough to have quit her job and find one later on. But all he talks about is his money, how he grew up, the inheritance that he's an art dealer, and then he says he doesn't want those things to define him, but it seems like that's how he defines himself.
It's his
And
whole
so he needs to grow
personality.
up.
It's his whole personality.
It is his whole personality. What's that Italian word he said? Oh yeah, where you do a little, and then they play the guy like, oh, he has a Rolex on. Okay, he could tell time. It's not like he could tell time fancier. It's still
Mm-mm.
12:03, my guy.
Well,
Like,
and even with the guys, he wants that to be what's known. So I
yes,
don't know. I wrote that I think, aside from his money and his career,
yeah,
I think he's a bit insecure around who he is as a person,
yeah.
because I still feel like I don't really know this guy. What does he do for hobbies? What does he do for fun?
hmm
What else other than he's an art dealer? I don't know. Even
Well,
after
it's
four
just
episodes.
him, so I don't know if he has like cousins. It seems like he maybe had somewhat of an isolated life. I don't know how many people are around him because
But he's 30.
when he described his family, he just described the people who died. So I wonder what his relationships look like in real life.
Where are your friends? You're
Right.
30. Your cousins,
Right.
aunties,
Okay.
uncles.
Somebody. So then we go to Brittany, who is 32 and an esthetician. Brittany says she is single because she chases fun. She says she could easily seduce men with her eyes, and this process takes away her superpower.
Hmm.
I, you know, I initially was like, listen, she says she doesn't say this verbatim, but she wants to be a trophy wife and she's upfront about it. And so I guess I can't knock it. Like they're in DC, so it's a possibility that she'll find a guy who's doing well on this show. But if she's expecting athletes and rock stars like she dated before, they're not going to be on Love is Blind, sister. They're not going to be in the pods.
And I was thinking maybe her expectation could be, even if you don't make that level of money,
You're generous.
you're generous, but you're open to the idea of providing for your family. So
Yes.
I wrote, okay, maybe she's tried it one way, and those guys think, oh, you're a dime a dozen. There's so many of you women, I could replace you. So maybe her thought is, maybe I go a little bit lower in terms of earning potential,
Mm.
but he's maybe willing to take care of me and the family. I wrote, she's a woman who knows what she wants. I could appreciate her being open about it and sticking to it, versus I feel like Maria and Tom, where she kind of put it out there, then she pulled back, and
Yeah.
girl,
She's
lean
not
into it.
misleading at all.
If you need him to provide, say that and stand on it.
Yeah. And the people who want that will lean into it. And the people like Garrett who don't want that will be like, that ain't for me.
Mm-mm.
He was immediately like, no, this is not what I want. Uh, I don't know. With Garrett, initially I questioned if he was there for marriage for real.
Hmm.
Initially. So I was like, if he got to the end, I could see him saying no. Because it seems like he said he's there to think through what he wants and doesn't want. And so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, are you here to experiment? Are you here because your outside life is prepared enough for you to take on a wife? So it felt to me like he was approaching this as speed dating. Like I haven't gotten a chance to date a lot. I haven't been able to isolate myself and date the way that the pods allow me to. So that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to figure me out and figure who the best partner is for me so that when I'm ready, I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my initial thought. I don't know if it changes completely throughout the episodes, but that just kind of stuck to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
I didn't have much thought on him other than, okay, he's not going to work with Brittany. Um, I did want to say, let me go back to Brittany really quick.
Hmm.
I will say, I do think that she's just in this episode kind of sussing Leo out, because she mentioned, like, oh, the other guys, they only wanted to do 50-50. She insinuated that she'd be willing to contribute something. And I wrote, girl, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Leo, be prepared to fund this woman's lifestyle, which if you're okay with it, that's fine.
Hmm.
But yeah, she said I do skincare.
The way she dropped it out, she does skincare and she does the like trash pickup. So it seems like she's a sweet girl. And there are things that she's passionate about to like help the environment and stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. The way she dropped them, my last relationship, I was taken care of 100%. She just let
Crickets.
it hang out there for it. She's like, are you going to talk? Because I'm not saying anything else. I was taken
Yeah,
care of 100%. That thing
even
was so funny to me.
80-20 is not going to go. Be prepared,
Mm.
Leo. And I think once he sees her, if it progresses that way, he'd be fine with it.
Mm. So I wrote that I think she's fun and bubbly, but not 100% shallow. And then Leo was saying that he's uncomfortable talking about his money, which he's not. Stop lying. You ain't got to lie, Craig.
Once again, I don't understand their connection, but I do.
I think for what Brittany was looking for, Leo's the closest thing to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Briefly, Garrett and Taylor met up. I liked this.
I did too. Whole lot of science talk.
They're the same pace. They seem
Mhm.
very in sync or aligned. Like they have the same pace. They're similar education wise,
Mhm.
career wise. They seem well matched. The tattoos, the science majors, they get each other's nerdy jokes
Mhm.
and comments. So I liked this.
Yeah, so I liked it. Once again, here I go, the appearance police. She gives an unnecessary detail about her
Mhm.
ethnicity being something
Yeah.
other than white.
Wait, was that this episode?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so he asked her, tell me about your parents. And then she goes into, my dad's the best dad. My mom, who has a very unique name, who I can't say because it's going to give away
Right.
my ethnicity. She could have told that story without saying that detail. Then it opens up this whole thing around, oh, well, I've only dated white women. And he seems to be taken aback by
That
the
gave him
way
pause. Yeah.
things unfolded. And I think in real time, he's trying to calculate if he'd be okay with dating someone of a different ethnicity. Um,
You
what you
know
got to
what?
say?
I think there's a particular ethnicity he was concerned about.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Well, but
All
yeah,
right.
so in real time, it seems like he was trying to figure that out. But, and then he also called out how she seemed to very calculated,
Hmm.
curated in her responses, wanting to present a certain image of herself. But I
Yes.
wrote, I think she's a very
Oh,
smart
yes.
woman, clearly. She dropped that nugget of hint, hint, I'm basically white and probably something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know before I even get too far, would he even be okay with that? And I think for her as a half white Asian woman, that this is something that maybe she's dealt with in the past.
Hmm.
I think she's was smart enough to know exactly why she dropped that detail in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You're right, because she could have told the story without it. There was nothing about that story that
the way they
required.
was talking about all this physics stuff, and she knows.
And then she said, like, her dad and the mom, which we call her something. We call her something, but I can't tell you what we call her. Like, girl,
You could
don't
have just
mention it if
Mrs.
that's not
Proud.
something. Like, if you don't want to highlight it, just don't.
She wanted to verify that. I think she could gather that maybe he was white. She wanted to gather if he was okay with dating a half white woman, half something else.
And I think he was taken aback because he was like, "What's the half of what's the something else?"
Yeah.
Personal opinion. You guys can disagree with me. Let me know in the comments. I thought the chess thing was cute, so
Hmm.
I thought that was a
Yeah,
cute
I
touch.
like them together.
They
Yeah,
might
he
have
says
found
he
their
wants to get
person.
to know her more. I think it's
Yeah.
good.
Okay. And then I think we're ending on Tim and Alex. So Tim is 32, a content strategist, and Alex is also 32, a fashion content manager.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Okay. I
Yeah.
had strong first impressions here. Did you?
Ooh, I'm all ears. Tell me.
Just of one of them.
Okay.
And I hope that this person proves me wrong. Not that I have to prove anything. I hope that
Hmm.
the trajectory of this person's like journey on the show proves me wrong.
Okay.
All right. So immediately Tim seemed a little immature to me. There was something about him that rubbed me the wrong way and gave me podcast bro. So like he seemed to me like the type of guy who calls women females. Like yeah, I felt it very strong when he when he talked about, oh yeah, my ex, I sent this to her and said which color or whatever, and I picked it to spite her. Who cares? It's a shirt color. Like,
And you still when you wore it, and then you decided to retell the story. So I didn't get podcast bro from that, but I got, oh, you're definitely petty boots.
petty boots, and I just wonder how that'll play out in a serious relationship because there are so many bigger things than this. Like, so if you're being petty over a shirt, there were certain things that he said.
And
Okay,
when your
so
ex watches this back, she gonna know you were still pressed.
He said, okay, so he said, I've always had a problem being understood by the women I'm interested in. And I was like, okay, does he have a specific type of woman that he's interested in that he doesn't date outside of? And then when he said he had a lion tattoo. And I was like, he's probably the type of man who's like, oh, I'm an alpha male. And he calls women females. Something about him was
Mm.
off putting to me.
I
Not
could
not that I don't think it was genuine. I think it's genuine. It's just genuinely off-putting. That was
I
my
could
first impression.
I could see the off-putting energy that you're picking up on. I didn't reach to the level of podcast bro type of energy, but I could definitely see where you're going. He did say that he was a boy in a man's body. He's another one of those that claims to be delivered. We shall see. He says he's matured and ready for a serious relationship. He said he's had a great example from his parents, and you know who also has a great example?
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton.
Thank you. That's the first thing I thought of.
But is out here causing a ruckus, embarrassing his parents. So with
Goodness.
him, my first impression was he's clearly been through a lot. And he made a strong statement saying, "Oh, I don't want to just get married. I want to die married." He did bring up how he's lost two siblings. I just wrote my impression is, man, he's been through a lot emotionally, and I wonder if he's really done the work. Has
Yes.
he done the work to you can never move on from it, but move forward in a healthy way, or is Alex going to have to absorb some of this?
That is
That's all
my
I wrote
fear.
on episode 1.
That's my fear. You're right. He's been through stuff. And so later on down the line, I wanted to change my mind because of it, but I can just see how, like, those things maybe have shaped how he is, but negatively.
And I think he also referred to himself as,
A
still
dog.
the baby brother, a
Oh,
dog, so well, you're saying you've matured, but you still give little brother energy. And so in this episode, I'm trying to give him grace because I can't even imagine, having two other siblings and then they're no longer here, and the pressures that may come with that.
being the
Of
only
like
one
it's
surviving.
one thing if like you've been the only child, but now you're legitimately the only child at whatever age these deaths happen. So,
Yeah, I think like 18-ish or where they were younger. But I will say, on a positive note, I love the compassion that they showed each other when they were talking about the illness and the death. I thought that was a
mhm.
genuine moment. I am just really concerned for Alex. If a man tells me he's a dog, I'm gonna believe him,
Power in the
especially if
tongue,
he's proud
baby.
of it. And
And
he ain't talking about the fraternity he's in. He,
yeah. And Alex, my impression of her, I like her so far. Um, I see why they're clicking and bonding in this episode. It just felt very heavy.
yes. Also, we do have to speed up because
Oh
that
yeah,
was
we
just
doing too
episode
much.
1. And we got to get through 4, so we
I
got to.
know.
But I think the rest of it will go faster because we had to give
Hmm.
our first. We had to set the foundation. And again,
Yeah.
if I'm wrong about Tim, I want to be wrong about Tim, especially knowing all that he's gone through. All right.
Yeah.
Next
Mm.
episode, I think we start out with Stephen and Monica. So,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I just remembered who Stephen was. Okay, Stephen and Monica. Monica is 36 in tech sales. Stephen is a 33-year-old electrician.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Monica talks about how she leads with looks. Like, well, she goes for a certain type of guy, and they're all hot, and she has a
Mm-hmm.
type. And I just feel like, okay, at some point we have to grow out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
she's at the stage where maybe we start growing out of that. Steven is talking about communication in his last relationship and how that was good. So I hope he practices what he preaches. He revealed in this episode that he did cheat in his last relationship.
So was the communication that great?
I'm done. Well, he was such a great communicator that he was trying to communicate with other women in their DMs.
Yeah. I mean, he
because it
didn't
was
have to tell her, but I mean,
but because it was so recent, I would err on the side of caution personally.
yeah. And I felt like she was quick to jump in to be like, oh, no, it's okay. No, girl, it's not okay. Let him cook. Let him feel uncomfortable. Especially you yourself have been cheated on. I think she jumped in too quick. I think she should have just let it be like, okay, well, thank you for telling me. And don't
Yeah.
give away the fact that you're okay with it and that you've easily forgiven in the past.
I would
Mm-mm.
never.
Yeah.
Okay, so he revealed that he voted for Trump. He talks about how his first vote was not educated. He voted because he disliked Hillary, which I think we're getting a lot of the politics because we're in DC. Like that seems to
Mm.
be a really big, and I think it should be a big thing that people discuss when they're dating.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we've seen it as such a central topic on any of
Mm-mm.
the other seasons. But because we're in DC, where this is what people do for a living, probably it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Like oh no, she's in tech sales. Okay, it's the other lady who's a policy advocate.
And for me, I didn't take him voting for Trump as like a huge red flag because that's another thing where he didn't even have to say that. He could have just given the answer that was, I guess, more acceptable. Voting for Trump the first time around, I think clearly a lot of people did, you know, and it was like, oh, because we don't like Hillary. I've heard that a lot, and so
Hmm.
I didn't see it as a red flag. I'm like, okay, well, he changed his mind. He's more educated on it now, and I think a lot of people were willing to give Trump a chance the first go round before they really knew what he was capable of doing or not doing. So,
You know, here's what I'll say. I'm happy that he admitted that his first vote was not educated. And there's some people who say it was educated and that's fine, but I think it takes courage to say, hey, that was on me. So if I'm gonna say a nice thing about Steven, it's that. Um, this whole awakening about him being partially black, I hope he has people who could temper that because you still you're still a white man. So I appreciate your willingness to get knowledge on something. Don't you be out here thinking you're black. Like you have not lived a black experience, and so you just be very mindful. And I think he just needs someone to walk this path with him to temper him a little bit so that he's careful with where he goes with this information. Does that make sense? Like,
I don't know. For me, something I wrote too was I don't know, she may want to ask a bit more questions about this family and why they felt the need to lie about it. That's a pretty significant lie. Are they comfortable with black people? I don't know. She may want to dig a little bit more on that.
yeah,
Seems
I
unnecessary.
just have a
Why?
lot
How?
of questions. And she seems to be impressed and happy with him going out and thinking he can learn, but there are a lot of things. Okay, here's how I want to say it.
Mm.
You can learn a lot of things through books. What you can't learn is experience. You either have that because of how you walk around or you don't. So you can empathize with someone's experience, but you having not lived that yourself, you can't fully relate. And so I just want him to be careful with his newfound knowledge and how he's expressing himself. And this is not just him, but anybody. Monica doesn't seem to be super concerned.
How do you
So
feel about them even sharing the fact that they're of mixed backgrounds once again?
well, I don't mind it, but I know you do.
It's supposed to be Love is Blind. She's like, "Oh, I'm Honduran and they were mixed and then I got some Cherokee in there." You're giving the whole rundown.
I know exactly what you look like. Also, can we? not use the MUTT term. That is not a nice term to say. Somebody needs to tell Steven needs to read that in his library books, okay?
And
Do not.
she repeated it.
He said it so casually, which I understand ignorance is a thing. He might not know that that's a potentially like offensive term.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope he sees the discourse online and doesn't do that anymore.
How do you feel about them as a match?
I don't get it.
Same. I
Yeah.
don't get it. I'd be happy for them if it clicks and it works and it's all good. From this first interaction, I didn't understand it. I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
My cons- my concern about Monica is she's maybe too open, too flexible. Like not many things would be a deal breaker for her.
Do you think that because she is 36 and she maybe spent so many years being critical of, oh, well, if you didn't have this, doesn't look like that, that now she's like, well, maybe I just need to be open and
Opposite end.
cast
Yeah.
a wider net.
I
Yeah.
think she's overcorrecting potentially. So whereas certain things would require more conversation, like, hey, I just cheated 2 years ago on someone who I was with for 2 years, or whatever the timing was. I think things that require more conversation, she is more willing to be accepting and taking people at face value because maybe she has spent so many years being critical, which to her, I would say, I don't think she has to do that. I think she is beautiful. And in this day and age, we're getting married in our late 30s too. Like people are getting married in their late 30s and their 40s. Like it's no longer as much of a societal taboo. It still is. You still hear people talking about age and, oh, she should be married by now. Or, oh, she got a boyfriend. Okay, but it's more acceptable to be at this age and getting married. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. Brittany and Leo. That's who I have next. Uh okay. So I don't know if we should talk about Brittany and Leo before Hannah
Well,
because
let's talk about Hannah first because
okay.
she's at this point she's having regrets about dumping Nick D basically.
Yes. Okay. And that kind of that kind of starts this very interesting love square that ends up being a love triangle. But the only reason she's regretting it is because she sees what Brittany looks like and maybe she thinks Brittany is a better catch for Leo.
I think also because she saw so that and she sees how giddy Brittany is. So she's like, oh wow, things are going well. Because I think she always knew, oh, he's dating other people, talking to other people. But
Yeah.
I don't think she maybe realized how serious him and Brittany were and maybe how good things were going. So
Or
I
that it was
think
Brittany. She didn't know it was Brittany either.
that's true that it was her. And now she's realizing, oh, wait, this, even though he's made me question my decision, he's still out here playing the field fully. And I think she felt like, oh, I jumped the gun. Maybe I shouldn't have broken up with him. Maybe I should have just told him I need more time. I need more time.
And that's why I disagree with her. Because even when she went back to him, she was like, people were saying and the girls were saying, which I think we'll find that the girls are right. I am no Miss Cleo, okay? I am not a prophetess, but I think the breakup happened when it needed to happen. But one of the reasons why I love this show is because it really does show the progression of people. So Hannah's decision to double back on Nick because Hannah's decision to break things off with Nick because she felt the pressure of what other people were saying, but then her going back to him because now she's questioning the foundation of her other connection. Like I think that's what people experience when they're dating, where it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe it wasn't so bad with oh boy, let me spin the block right quick. And so that's one of the things that I like about this show is because it is, even though it's a sped up process, there are realistic decision making processes going on that I think are relatable to everybody else.
And I think also maybe this speaks a bit to her age and just not trusting her intuition. I think she was listening to the other ladies, but she's also in the dates herself. So
Yes.
she's like, I can't quite put my finger on it. Something doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
She kept saying how she was feeling like this maybe wasn't genuine. So
Mm-hmm.
it's maybe her not having the life experience to trust herself enough. Just like, girl, go with it. If it don't feel right, trust that.
And I feel like 26 to let's say 29, that the tail end of your 20s, that's really even into the beginning of your 30s. That's where you really start to figure out your relationship with intuition. I feel like when you're younger, sometimes your intuition feels like, oh, well, maybe I'm not giving this person a chance enough. Like, there's something there,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know enough to trust it yet. And I think that's what we're seeing with Hannah.
And she was easily persuaded. She goes back to Nick D.
Mm-hmm.
Basically
And she's like,
saying,
"Ugh,
"Oop."
I'm going crazy." No, girl, you're not. I promise you're not going crazy, love.
But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So
And Nick
she,
D was open to it.
I said she's ignoring the red flags like she's at Six Flags. She said multiple times he's gonna break her heart. Her intuition is telling her. The girls around her are telling her because they're a little older, a little wiser, maybe. Anyway. So
Right.
yes. So now we can get back to Brittany and Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I felt like Brittany and Leo didn't really talk about much. So she seems like a sweet girl because she was really sad about hurting Hannah and starting drama. I thought that was genuine. I think Brittany just lives in
I,
her own
I,
world.
I don't know if it's
You don't think
genuine.
so?
I think that slip up was on purpose. She wanted people to know that
Hmm.
even if Hannah wasn't sitting right there, word would have gotten back to her. That slip up, like, oh my gosh, Leah, how do you just walk into a room talking to yourself? Remember, no one was standing at the door. You remember the scene? She
Nobody
opens
was.
the door and she's just talking. To who?
I think she just lives in her own world, or maybe that's just how she's portraying
But
herself,
but
and I'm buying it.
but what Leo even said, I think people underestimate you because of your voice and how you present yourself.
Hmm.
He's picking up on the fact that she dumbs herself down a bit. Like, oh well, one of us has to be smart. One of us has to use our brain. Girl, no.
You know what's
Not at
it,
32. You know better.
but you think it's a tactic. You think it's a scheme that Todd set up. Uh,
What did
yo,
she say? My
Leo's
powers have been stripped of me. So she's
what
used to using
powers?
something.
Mm-hmm.
The physical isn't there. So what else could she use?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Leo said, "I'm not gonna lie. I'm fortunate to be filthy rich. I've never had financial issues ever." And then he's in this day, he's like, I'm in a good position where, I have more than one option. I'm not saying woe is me. He's always pointing out how good of a position he's in,
Mm-mm.
both with
Once again, I don't understand this connection. They don't talk about much other than
his
his
money.
his money, his situation with Hannah, how she's basically saying, I'm falling for you. Then he tells her something real crazy in this episode. You were my number two, but now you're definitely tied for number one.
Wasn't that bizarre? I was like, what? He's like, I don't know if that makes you feel good or bad. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. You think? I think he's loving it. I think it's an ego stroke for him.
Oh, he loves the fact that he has two different women because in the real world, I hate to say it, this would never.
I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous. He would never.
But yeah,
Okay.
so.
And then Hannah and Leo, of course, he's like, I don't want to keep talking about this, but everybody, if I were me in this situation, I would probably be saying, he's such a player. He's so lucky. I don't think that at all. Yes, you do. And not only do you think that, you want everybody else to think it too. That's why you're saying it.
Hmm.
The jig is up. We know who you are. Uh, anyway, do we want to move on to more serious couples like Garrett and Taylor?
Hmm.
Okay. So I think it was cute. She gave him the avocado plant. He gave her the
Hmm.
honey. even the gifts they give are just unique to them, and I love that because that's what the relationship should be.
I love it. Give me a practical gift.
Right? Give me honey and an avocado plant.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think they're also talking about very important things. I liked how they approached the timeline of kids, and he was very honest about, okay, you saying 5 to 10 years. I was maybe thinking 2 or 3. That's a really long
Well,
time for
yeah,
me.
because he's 31 and she's 29.
Hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, well, I said just 5 to 7." But yeah, girl, but
That's still a
even
lot. He
at,
was like, yeah, still, it's
yeah,
a
I
bit.
agree with him on that. If
Yeah.
you're already together, you're stable in your careers, yeah, it doesn't make sense to wait 7 years to initially try. But I also like how they both seem flexible. So, to a certain degree.
Yeah, I don't think he's very flexible at all. But not this could just be his thing that he's not flexible on. Like you don't have to be
Yeah.
flexible on everything. There are things that you can say, hey, for me, it has to be 5 max. 5 was her
Yeah.
starting point. Maybe it's his max, and then they start there. Okay, yeah, she wants him to ask her to be his girlfriend, which I'm all for. That's fine.
Mm.
I can I just say I hate when people put their shoes on these couches because then the next person's gonna come for their date and their head is where your outside shoes were. I Every season that I see
Um,
this, I'm just like, ew, this is gross. Like you guys are sharing spaces. I would treat those couches like an airplane where I have to have my hoodie on because my hair cannot touch the back of the seat. Like it's just so gross. But anyway, that's my little rant. Anything else about them?
I think in this episode, he proposes, right?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
did the
but
sunflowers for the girlfriend thing and then the roses for the proposal.
yeah, so she did write him a letter where I thought she was about to propose. When she first stood up,
I
I
was
was
so
thinking, girl,
scared.
no,
I was like,
do not.
where's this going?
No, but thankfully, she sat down. He took the lead
Yosha.
and
Thankfully, she sat down.
let him propose, and it was nice. I don't have anything bad to say about it. They teased the reveal, but they don't show it. So
Yeah. Also, when he asked her to be his girlfriend and she said maybe, I was wondering if that's going to be something we'll see from Taylor where she's not like fully in, where she's a
hmm
little bit more closed off and reserved is already something he mentioned. And so I wonder
hmm
if that's a personality trait that we'll just see consistently and that they'll have to
it's
keep talking about.
it's definitely giving playing hard to get a
Hmm.
bit. And I think that goes back to her being very thoughtful about how she presents when she
Hmm.
says certain things. And I'm here for it. Don't make it too easy for him.
I knew
I
you
like
would
it.
be. So
Hmm.
I'm here for it, except for when it really is just a game and a strategy. Like I
Mm,
would bet Taylor is probably already just naturally hard to get because she's a more reserved person. So you don't have to play that up more. Like it's who you
hmm
are. And so I don't love when people are doing it out of a strategy as opposed to
hmm
like you remember when Steve Harvey had his 90-day rule. Like for some
Oh,
people
yeah.
that's just who they're just not comfortable with, having a physical relationship before then. But don't play it up and be like, oh, well, now I'm going to do 180 because, like, you do you?
Hmm.
Yeah, stop trying to follow a rule. Anyway, so he proposes. All right, Marissa and
Hmm.
her love triangle that's going on. So Marissa and Bowden first.
Hmm.
My first impression was I'm liking Bolden. I enjoyed hearing his stories. In this first date, it seemed like we heard more about him though. And
Hmm.
that's fine. Maybe it'll balance out later. That's what I put.
Yeah. He told some pretty wild stories. Yeah, very patriotic for his country here in America and for back at home. That seemed to resonate with
Hmm.
her. They both have a military background. They love fantasy books.
Hmm.
I liked their vibe. I got friend vibe. I didn't get romantic vibe.
So I thought it could potentially be romantic here, but as it progressed, I definitely got friend.
Yeah, I got
All
friends.
right, and Marissa and Ramses.
Yeah.
He was intentional. So he stated, I enjoy being with you. You're my number one. I think this was the time where he said, hey, if I were to propose, how would you feel about that? And she was like, oh, I'll need more time. So it seemed
Mm.
like he was set on her and was making it known, whereas maybe Bowden was just vibing a little
Yeah,
bit.
like oh, we're cool.
Yeah.
I also felt like in her conversations with Ramses that they have more conversations around maybe lifestyle. I heard more stories around them personally. So where he
Hmm.
married his high school sweetheart, they didn't
Hmm.
agree on religion. I just feel like I got to know more personally
Yes.
about Ramses and maybe how he would maybe show up in the relationship. He said he doesn't try to follow traditional masculinity. She loved to hear that. I just wrote it seemed like her and Ramses clicked in a more personal way, in that like, oh, their lifestyle could match.
And it seemed like a more natural, yeah, like you said, they talked about if in family and friend groups, and
Mm-hmm.
him having a solid friend group. It seems like he's a contrast to what she's used to, because she said that. I wanted to hear more about her dating the Trump supporter. Like, what were the things that made it end, girl? Like, tell us more, because I want to know maybe how Ramses contrasts what she just got out of and why he
Mm-hmm.
seems so much more appealing to her. But
Yeah, and are most of her previous dating experiences with military people, because there was a lot of talk I feel like with Bowden around, oh, well, you're ex-military and military this, military that.
yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. Okay. All right, Alex and Tim. Uh, do, 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 do. I think it's like he has something to prove, almost like he has a chip on his shoulder for like
Mm.
from his childhood for being made to feel less than, not as smart. Uh,
Mm.
I think I think the thing that's sometimes missing for me from him is just that like maybe warmth. He's very
Mm.
like
Maybe serious energy.
he has very serious energy, which I mean he talked about it too. I don't know if it was this episode or the next where he said, I know we could talk about serious things, but can we have fun? So maybe that's all that it was.
Like, you
But
keep bringing up these very heavy things, which is, I don't have a problem with it, but then don't be
yeah,
like, well, can we have fun? Well, you tell me. Other than hearing the story about her parents
yeah,
having MS,
we
which
don't
was
know
brought
much
up in
about
the
her.
context of marriage being for better for worse, and
Mm-hmm.
how partners, how
With
her
mental
mom
health.
experienced her partner leaving while being
Mm-hmm.
sick, which seemed to tie into what are you looking for in marriage. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he also brings up again, how his sister's dying affected him. So I don't know. It's
It was very serious. Uh,
also, I wrote really quick.
yeah.
Um, I what does he do for a living right now? I missed that. Do you know?
Okay, content manager or something like that.
Okay, so I wrote, it's I definitely understand school and college isn't for everyone, but the way that he describes his life is kind of like, I start these things and then I realize I'm not really into it. So
Hmm.
same thing, how he was so excited about the band, and oh, but I really didn't like being in school, and then he went on to the Navy, but I really didn't like that. So
Hmm.
if I were her, I'd be like, okay, well, how do you feel about your life and career now? Like, how long have you been in that? As far as your relationships, how long was your longest relationship and what made you leave? I just would want to hear that he's open to the idea of long term commitment and not pouncing on things that are temporarily uncomfortable. Even the way he like described college is like, dude, you got in on a scholarship. You can't finish
Yeah.
4 years, push through.
You
Like,
know who he reminds me of? Actually, I'll say this at the end. Someone from Love Is Blind season 1.
okay.
Yeah, I'll say it at the end. I don't want to give y'all too much. No, I'm just
Now I
kidding.
have to wait.
But I think it'll be more appropriate to say it at the end because the behavior I observed happened at the end. Okay.
Okay.
So our last couple is Ashley and Tyler for episode 2. So they start with a prayer. They have this meal together.
Mm-hmm.
I love them so much, and I don't want to be out here falling for this couple, but him talking about feeling safe with her, like men deserve safety too, and it's nice to see that she's
Mm-hmm.
created that for him. She likes his consistency. Love a consistent man. I say I can't wait for this proposal. The music
Mm-hmm.
date. I would love a good music date. That's solid. Yeah, I love this couple.
And up until this point, I think we've seen a lot of vulnerability from Tyler. He definitely seems to wear his heart on his sleeve. I
Hmm.
feel like Ashley has been a little bit reserved in comparison. Not that it's a bad thing.
I know you love that.
This isn't
Go
about
ahead.
what I love.
Go ahead and
We're
say,
talking
yeah,
about a show.
I do love it. He was
But
like,
yeah, I wrote
they'll
that
give him nothing.
she's been a bit reserved, but I don't think he sees it as a problem, so I'm okay with it. So,
Yeah. And she also talks about the things that she loves about him. So
hmm,
reserved, but it's not like she's not giving him anything to go off of. Like he
emotionally
knows that she's
invested. Yeah.
interested. Right. He knows she's invested. She's giving him enough, I think.
Yeah.
And not bare minimum enough, but like a good
Hmm.
quantity. And I think it's so cute that she's always like, Tyler, Tyler, Tyler.
He's in love.
He is.
He's
That man is smitten.
mhm.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right. Episode 3.
Hmm.
Ooh,
Is it
okay.
too
This one
late?
isn't too much. All right.
Hmm.
Garrett and Taylor, they have their review. I couldn't read much. It seemed like they were okay with each other's looks.
Yeah, when they walked up, he says, "This is incredible." They immediately start kissing very deep.
It was a lot.
Um,
Very
I
deep.
I wrote, there was no initial compliments. He just jumped straight into, "Hey, will you marry me?" She says, "Yes." He sits down. He says, "Oh, you're so beautiful." She doesn't respond. I don't know if you. So I was like, "Huh." She immediately starts talking about her mom and asked if you would
Song.
have guessed the background. He said, "No, I just focused on your voice." Um, I got that she seemed really nervous, but that she seemed to be into him. She was smiling and laughing. And then eventually she said, "Oh, you're handsome," and then confirmed that she's not taller than him. So it,
Yeah. Her ring
I
is
gave that,
beautiful.
I think that they both like what they see. Given their backgrounds, I didn't expect it. What we got is what I expected.
And I don't expect that we'll know much about this couple. I feel like
Mm-mm.
they'll probably keep it to themselves, like keep their cards pretty close to their chest.
Yes, and I like it so far. They seem to be really into each other,
All
and
right.
we just have to wait and see.
All right. So Bowden and Marissa, and then Ramses and Marissa. Okay.
Hmm.
So the guys find out. It was funny how they found out. Like, okay, I have a final person. It's not M, is it? No, it's a M. It reminded me of at the beginning of The Boy Is Mine. Excuse me, can I talk to you for a minute? Well, I wanted to talk to you about, well, you know his name. Oh, yeah, I know his name. Like, that's the vibe I was getting. But friendlier. Anyway, so Bowden comes in there to talk to Marissa. He was so funny. He's like, girl, I know your little secret.
I got your tea.
And at the end of this conversation, I was like, I'm pretty sure this pushed him all the way into the friend zone. This was for me that, like, what solidified friend zone.
Yeah, he seemed to be almost too okay with it. It's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine.
Not
Casual. But I
too
do
okay.
like Bowden a lot. I like his energy. He made light of it. He made her feel comfortable, like, but
Yeah, it happens.
this is your opportunity to be like, nah, I want it to be me. Nah, oh, the other
Hmm.
guy's great too. Yeah.
It gave take it or leave it attitude. Like, oh yeah, like I know, if you pick me, you pick me. You don't, you don't.
Yeah, and I would want someone who's like, no, pick me, choose me. You don't watch Grey's Anatomy, so you might not get that reference, but yeah, that's what I think he should have done in that moment.
Mm-hmm. And he was
Ramses,
previously married. We're just
yeah,
finding
both
this
of them
out.
were.
Yeah, I didn't know that Bowden was previously married before this episode. I missed
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so Ramses, he came in very serious. He's like, ooh, he's like, I want some reassurance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that, hey, I am still a contender at least. I the vibe just gave more serious and more, no, I want this romantically with you.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
like she even
what?
said it, you're more sensitive.
Yeah, and even their conversations are more about, okay, what would our lives look like? So they
Hmm.
have this conversation about how, she wants to have kids, but she's not looking for a traditional setup. He says, I'm more than okay with helping around the home. And then she even says, well, hey, I would even want you to be a stay at home dad because I plan on being a lawyer. And obviously, that's a very time consuming
Hmm.
career. I may not be home. And he, in so many words, says that he's open to it.
He said he's not leaving his career. Did you catch that? He said I'm open to
Mm-mm.
remote work.
Yeah. And so what I took from this was I think with Bowden, I don't know if she ever had those conversations with him.
Hmm.
Either she didn't have them or she did and she maybe just didn't get the vibe that he'd be open to that. I didn't get the vibe from Bowden that not I guess not that he wouldn't want a traditional setup or would, but not that he would leave his career either.
Yeah, it'd be. I think she has a better chance of that with Ramses than not leaving the career, but making it possible to care for the kids in the way that they see it
Yeah.
needing to happen.
I just
So
didn't see her and Bowden having any conversations like that.
no, again, it was more friendly, but I think Ramses and his vulnerability really sealed the deal for her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to do Tim and Alex? They
Mm-hmm.
This is when he said I'm a dog, when they played the would you rather game. Okay. All right. I forgot this happened, but I'm so glad I took notes. This because I think it goes into what my first impression of him was. So he said, "My mom always said you need a strong-willed woman." Why is she saying that? I don't want to be strong. This is my place to rest.
I'm soft.
It's
I'm
giving weak.
dainty.
It's giving
Flower.
feeble. I am
Go be
not
rough with somebody else, not me.
okay. This is not about to be a battlefield. I'm not trying to fight you, sir. I could no. And then I need somebody who's gonna bite back. No, the only thing I want to bite is my food. I don't want confrontation consistently in my relationship. Like I'm gonna stop because I feel like I've just put too much on this man, and maybe people won't agree. And I don't think I don't want to say he's like a bad person. I don't see him as any type of villain or anything. I
Hmm.
just, if I were Alex or if I were Alex's friend, there are things that just concern me about him.
He's he's telling you all you need to know. And you remember earlier when he said like, "Oh, I'm maybe misunderstood, or maybe the women who I want,
Don't,
they don't want me." I feel like we're kind of maybe starting to see why. I
hmm,
don't think it's from a looks perspective. I think they're hearing certain things and it's a bit of a turnoff. And I'll leave it at that based off what we've seen in this episode. I'm gonna
yeah,
stop there.
period.
Okay.
Okay. Tyler and Ashley. Okay, so it's his
Hmm.
birthday.
Got cake and balloons.
And this is where we see her giving a little bit more, not necessarily
Hmm.
about her life and story, but she reads
Hmm.
him something about her feeling safe with him. Oh, I think she even said it. She said, I just want you to know how I feel about you. Like, no matter what happens
Hmm.
with this, I just want to make sure that you know. I was like, yes, y'all
Hmm.
better have love in these pods.
Yep. She says she's ready to take a leap of faith.
Period, Ashley. Uh, Oh, yeah. I wrote down the quote. None of us knows what tomorrow may bring. I just know I don't want to lose how I feel today.
Hmm.
Can we get some snaps? That was poetic.
Or like that one reel that went viral.
Mm. said, I need time to go ahead and propose. Like, what? Speed this up. Give me the
I know,
proposal.
but he
And then
does.
he did, right. I
And
was
he
like,
falls out.
I loved everything about this.
Mm, mm,
My
mm.
goodness. And then she was like, oh, and it's all on your birthday, which I think is really memorable. And he goes,
Mhm.
I don't even care about the birthday. And then she said, I would be honored to marry. Just stop the
Mm.
season. It's theirs. It's a wrap. It's a
Let's
wrap.
get to this reveal.
Yes. What did you think about it? Because wait, what was that face?
I think he's blown away, as
I
we
think so
all
too.
are, with her beauty. Like,
When she had that denim outfit with the red lipstick, I said, "Oh my God, you're the
this
one,
woman.
Ashley."
He says, wow. So they walk up.
Yep,
They both seem nervous, gives a real small peck. It was very cute at first,
very
saying,
cute.
man, this is crazy. He says, wow, you're beautiful. Damn, you're beautiful. She's just taking it all in. She's blushing. She doesn't say any compliments to him just yet.
Mhm.
Um, but and then I think when they sit down, he was like, "Oh, did you think I had a beard?" She was like, "Oh, I like beards."
Mhm.
Something like that. He's on the verge of tears. He keeps going in for kisses. And she's receiving them, I notice, but
Mhm.
not going in herself, which I wasn't surprised by. And then she finally does say, "Yes, you are handsome."
They are so cute.
So I really hope, I know the attraction's there on his part, clearly. I hope
Mm.
she's really attracted to him or open to growing in terms of attraction.
Oh,
I'm with these
interesting.
two because of their communication and the way that things have gone. I'm kind of okay if if she's like, "Oh, the initial spark isn't there." I have a feeling, and Tyler, don't lead me wrong. I think if he pours into her, if she's not quite there yet, I think she could get there. It's
What?
given Deanna and Greg.
What makes you think she's not quite there yet? I really thought she was just very nervous, and I thought they were
I think I
adorable.
agree. I think she was nervous, but because I never saw her go in for a kiss.
I probably would not. Also, he was doing it enough for the both of them. You don't think?
True. Yeah, he wasn't given many breaks. He just kept going in, and maybe she was
Yeah.
just overwhelmed in the moment. Yeah, I
And
just
then, like, even when they were walking away, when they
yeah.
closed the door, her reaction, I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
she
she's
did seem
into him.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved their meetup. I was smiling from ear to ear. It wasn't like too much kissing,
Yeah.
as we sometimes see with these couples. I'm a little scared after Steven and Sabrina, I'm not gonna lie, like, because they seemed like such a great pair. And so hopefully this lasts. But I love this meetup, everything about it. And I think she seems like a genuine person. So I'm going to say she deserves to have that be the reaction of the man who has
Hmm.
proposed to her. Okay. So moving on to the Hannah, Brittany, Leo, Nick D situation. Hannah and Brittany, I start having a conversation. Um, and the guys are having conversations where one guy says that Hannah cut him off because of his height,
And
which we don't even know that that's the case, but like maybe he's had experiences where people have been like, oh, he's too short, and now he's projecting, and it could be true, but
mm-hmm.
anyway, Leo and Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he's for her. I think she's a little bit superficial, and but she's not a jerk. I think he's a little bit more arrogant. When
Mm-hmm.
she says you're not giving me emotional security, I feel like we're seeing the difference between Hannah and Brittany age wise here, because
Mm-hmm.
Hannah's like, oh, I'm going crazy. Brittany is able to name exactly what is happening. You're not making me feel emotionally secure. Hey, it's not your decision completely, because the way that he talks is like, hey, I'm so fortunate to have my choices. And she's like, let me take back agency because it's not just your choice. So I think
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing the difference a few years can make. between 26 and 32. And I think he elevates himself in a way that I don't like. So I kept saying, like, girl, move past him, move past him. And she says, Leo, I will be fine. Like, I'm not pressed. And that's when she could have gotten up and left. There were so many opportunities for her to just get up and leave.
And when she talks about, having this trauma around being pinned up against other women, if you've been here before, then why not act accordingly? Move on. And if you, at this point, she was already starting to sense that she would feel a way by being
Second.
number two or whatever, since he's confusing y'all. She already knew that she would feel a way about it. I think at this point, even if he did pick her, because of all the back and forth, she would still feel a way about it, even if he did
Yeah.
end up picking her. So,
It's not the love story you want at all. And then he goes, here's my advice for you, Brittany. I'm sorry.
this man is a piece of work.
A piece of work is right.
He don't want either one of them, I don't think, really. But
Yeah, no, he just wanted to come out here and talk about how rich he is. Oh, but don't you dare talk about my riches. Let me be the one to talk about them. All right, so she says, I just want something fun later on. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna do a surprise for you. Miosha, was the surprise in the room with us? Because what was the surprise? Was it just the
for
blanket
you
with
to
his cologne?
be so rich, you lack ideas.
A blanket
With
with
your
your
cologne on
cologne
it,
on it? That's the surprise? I'm sorry. Not a
you
flower.
couldn't you couldn't even have one of the showrunners go fetch her something.
Be be unoriginal, but come on. You could flowers and chocolates at least.
And that was another sign to her that, okay, yeah, he may have money, but either he don't know what to do with it or he's stingy. Cologne that he already owns.
And then and then talking about, oh, like what ring are you interested in? And she's like, she didn't want to talk she didn't want to talk about the ring cuz she's like, you're asking this to someone else. But then she gives him that
Got looped
information. I'm
in.
just like, stand up, Brittany, stand up.
And he knew exactly how, because he said certain words. Well, you seem like the type. And then also, I want to say that he also kind of dropped a nugget to get her to confirm how she looked. So, oh, you seem like the type of woman who would want a simple band, but with a really big rock. Because I assumed, you're petite, you're small.
Yeah.
She says, mm-hmm.
Baby, I really know you. You what?
When they watch this back and see who they've been hoodwinked by,
Moving
let me
on. I'm
stop.
not gonna comment. But yeah.
Let me stop. But yeah, the fact of him even wanting to have the ring conversation before he even made the final decision just
You're playing
shows
games. You're playing games.
he
So
wanted to
I
loop her back in. Oh, you want a really big rock, like dangling a carrot in front of her.
yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. Uh but yeah, I said trust your gut, Brittany, because I think you'll always think about how your engagement went, and your future husband should not be unsure about you. All right. So then we have Leo and Hannah, where he brought up the prenup. He obviously, because I'm so financially blessed, hang it up. There are so many ways to talk about having money that aren't obnoxious. He is a child.
And did you
Okay.
have this conversation with Brittany? Doubt it.
No. And then I think she talked about weight and, how she wouldn't even care if he gained 100 pounds. I think weight is important to him. I don't think he's as casual about it as she was.
And I'd add that once he heard that nugget about her, because if you think of the sequence of the episode, he had this conversation with Hannah before he had the ring conversation with Brittany.
Yes.
So I think this is my theory, and y'all can tell me if I'm reaching. So Hannah opens up about her insecurities with weight. She lost 45 pounds, said, I wouldn't even care if you gained 100 pounds. The look on his face said that he would care, even though his words were saying something else. Then after that, that's when he has the ring conversation and drops in there, oh, because I'd gather that you're petite and small. And Brittany said, yes, I am. So that was his way of confirming what they look like physically. Like, okay, Hannah, you big or
Have
small or not
45 pounds to lose.
to lose. And based off of Brittany's voice and her confirming like what the ring would look like and so on and so forth, that whole petite and you being small, she confirmed it. And I personally think, based off of the next sequence of events of him kind of trying to fight for Hannah, was just to save face. Because at after he got that ring conversation out of the way with Brittany, he already knew Brittany was going to be his pick. He already knew it. But he had to do it in such a way to where it wouldn't look like he was breaking things off with Hannah because of the weight thing.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. This was like a catastrophe. He was lit. It felt like Uche and Aaliyah. Like, where he was just like, I'm fighting for this. And I came here because I wanted to talk to you. And he just didn't want to be the one who got left. He thought he had it all planned out and he was stringing these women along and this, that, and the other. Like, absolutely not. He just wants to be in control of the situation. He doesn't, like you say, he didn't like any of these girls. He wasn't about to marry either one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he tells Hannah in that last conversation, "Oh, I I want you to be my wife."
And then was
Only
this
go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. So before this, she told everybody that she was breaking up with him, and then she didn't do the breakup because he was berating her and yelling at her
Because
and
he asked her to sleep on it till the
yeah.
next morning. But before he said sleep on it, he was like, "I want you to be my wife." He specifically said that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when they talked the next morning, she was like, "But you didn't say that last night."
Right.
When she actually did go to break things off with him.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah, meaning
Mm-hmm.
Hannah, when she went to go break things off with him, now all of a sudden it's a mutual decision. And this fool has the nerve to try to ask her, well,
To
can you
talk.
lobby for me? Can you lobby for me on my behalf to make sure my other pick doesn't walk up out of here without me?
Yo, this was the most bizarre thing that I have seen in a long time on this show. Because in the UK season, they kept it cute. But you trying to marry this woman because she's walking away from you when you were so unsure and you had two people and whatever, and now they're tied for number one. It was absolutely bizarre to witness that. It was a huge red flag. When Hannah goes and talks to Nick D, because we haven't talked about them
Oh, yeah.
yet. So, she talks about financial stability and wanted to like check in about that. And it doesn't seem like he's selling houses the way that he needs to be, like just from the way that he reacted. Which maybe this is a newer career for him. He's just getting on his way, getting his feet under him.
I don't know. Hannah, you kind of have some nerve with the way you served up that conversation. Yeah. Because if the tables were turned, we'd be like, so you quit your job and yet you're sitting in front of me asking me, so are you going to be able to support? Like,
I'm sorry, Miss Unemployed. What was said?
I'm sorry. She got some audacity.
She does, but that's why I think she was probably a high earner. So she probably has enough to keep herself afloat. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't spend her money well. Who knows? But then they also had the weight conversation. I don't know that I liked him laughing through it. Nick isn't ready for this. I think
He just wants to progress on the show.
he's been going under the radar because Leo has had so much drama. I think,
But I
but
also think he's not the most secure in himself either. So I think
absolutely not.
when he was saying like, "Oh well, I'm not perfect too, and I have things," I think he puts on a lot himself, even in the way he's presented, to where I kind of see them as the same.
The thing about Leo though is because he is insecure in himself, I think the type of woman he has on his arm could either make him look better in his opinion or make him look worse. And so I
Hmm.
think because he's so insecure in himself, he's not going to be okay with the weight fluctuation because her image is now affecting his. I just don't see
Hmm.
this ending well at all. Uh, yeah, she talks about her mom hiding snacks, which I don't know. My mom used to hide snacks from us too. Did
Well,
you?
yeah, junk food. You want to eat some
So,
real food, some rice, greens,
my mom used to
chicken.
hide the snacks, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway, he ended it well. He apologized for his previous comments and saying he always has her. I don't think that's true, but we'll see if it holds up. She said that she felt he was superficial initially, but the more they talked, it got deep. I don't think she knows what depth is. Okay. Then we end with Monica and Steven. They call each other boyfriend and girlfriend, apparently. He wants to be treated like a piece of meat. He wants to be wanted, whatever. I
Hmm.
don't know how they're aligned. This is confusing to
I don't
me.
get them too. Yeah.
Next.
Okay.
All right, finally,
Let's
episode 4. Okay, we gotta run through this because we're at an hour and a half,
ah,
15 minutes. Okay, Leo and Hannah. He's asking if it's too late. He's giving his best sales pitch, whatever. And then he tried to justify like not being able to. I don't know. Leo hates to lose, and I think that's what we're seeing. Just someone who doesn't want to lose. I don't like a man who pressures people, and that's what he was doing the entire time. And I know some people romanticize this, like, oh, he's fighting for love. If you got to fight, just
but he's not really fighting because he still has another connection. And so it's manipulative because he
yeah,
can't give her a final answer, yet he wants her to cut off her other options.
yeah.
And I think what's really frustrating is that we're already at episode 4 and this is still going on. It's like y'all should not still be in this square, triangle, whatever this is that's going on at episode 4.
Yeah.
No, because y'all all connected at the first episode.
How do you feel about her telling Brittany?
Well, at first she said, I don't like the way she did it. So she was like, oh, well, I'm definitely not going to say anything. And then when she sits down with the girls, she doesn't really tell her directly. It was, I don't know. It was just the way she did it.
You
Like
didn't
she
like
was
the way
like
she did?
talking about it in a general sense. But oh girl, but it's your choice. And he really wanted me to talk to you, but I said I wasn't. But she really wasn't talking directly to her. So I
Okay.
didn't mind her saying, hey, this is how things went. Y'all are already sharing way too much anyways.
What's
But
one more thing?
yeah, what's one more thing? I think I would have appreciated if she would have done it maybe after things calmed down a bit, not when she
Okay.
first came in. Like, come in, calm down. It was just like all coming out, not in a very thoughtful way. And it could have been way more simplified. And it seems like he's still on the fence. I don't know.
I think she should have told her more directly, but I do appreciate that she told her something. I wouldn't want Brittany going into that not knowing anything. Him being self-deprecating and saying, "Oh, we're listen, Hannah, we're not compatible." I'm sorry, what? Did you just realize we're not compatible? At the end of the day, we broke up with each other. Is this how you're gonna just rewrite history? Like we didn't all see? It's giving bruised ego. That's what it's giving. All right. Do you want to end? The episode kind of ends on Brittany and Leo, so we could talk about them a little bit. Uh, I feel like she came ready for the shenanigans. Like, ooh, look how the tables have turned. And then she wrote something. I wish she could have delivered it without the tears, but I understand like they're very emotional. But she says she feels like their connection has been tainted. And I thought that was enough. I think she should have walked out after that.
Yeah, but we don't see how it ends.
We don't. I hope she walks out after that.
Yeah, once again, we would be at episode 5, and this is still going on.
Going on.
It's
Yeah.
almost like Leo is thriving in this chaos.
Okay.
Like I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So Marissa and Bowden, they
Oh,
have.
really quick, do you want to talk about how Hannah and Nick D, the proposal?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Go for it.
I don't have anything. I wrote lackluster. What
You
is this?
asked me
Like
to talk about it.
just to say that lackluster. Nothing to
That is
see here.
hilarious. All right. Moving on.
Moving on.
Oh my
Okay.
God. Okay. So Marissa and Bowden, they were saying how they feel confident in them. They talked about having a family book club. His controversial thing about it wasn't controversial at all. Yeah. Anyway, I don't really have much about them. I think she has the date with Ramses, and after that, she tells him, "Hey, our connection's more romantic." Seals the deal.
And yeah, she seems to be really big on the astrology sign. I didn't understand it. He's a Cancer Leo. Y'all tell us, what does that mean?
What is a
I
Cancer
only
Leo Leo?
know that I'm a Leo. I only know my one. So,
And is that fire or earth, the one that we know? What's the first
girl, I
one?
have no idea. I just know I'm born in July. That's all I know.
So
So
y'all
we,
tell us, because we
yeah.
we we want to know why that was such a big deal to her.
Yeah, but that seemed to really seal things.
Even the fact that he knew it, I was impressed by.
Yeah. So,
So maybe that's just another commonality that they have. They're into astrology.
yeah.
Okay, Tim and Alex. So he gave her a bracelet, which was his sister's bracelet. I said, I'm just not buying this love story. Something feels smug about him, and Alex is so sweet. I don't want this to end badly for her. I
I'm
want to
sorry.
know more about her.
Take a step back. You bring a gift that was for your one of your sisters before they passed away. Gave it to, was for it was a gift for the sister that passed away, and you're about to give it to a stranger on a show. It feels manipulative. It does.
Well, when she said thank you for this, I noted that he said thank you for being worthy of it. What does that even mean?
And why should she want to be worthy of it? I don't know. He also was it this episode where he said something about, oh, I hope to give my parents another daughter. Was it this
It was
episode?
this. It was either this or the last one, but yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
That is a
Uh,
lot of pressure, especially in such a unique process. I would be more understanding if they met at a cafe and things develop to the point where
yeah.
you feel this level of closeness and she's gotten a chance to meet your parents and so on and so forth. Fine. But in this unconventional process, you're going to give her the bracelet of your sister's bracelet? That's crazy. No.
Because I'm trying to find nice things to say here. I think their painting thing was really cute, and I think it was a nice proposal. I'm happy for him saying that he feels safe with her, and I really hope that he's kind and genuine. I thought her response of "duh" was really cute. Yeah, I I want to root for them, I just can't. And then the reveal solidified it for me. So now I can say who he reminds me of. So at the reveal, he's like, "Oh, I knew you was fine." And she looked stunning in that color. And I know that he handed her the ring and she
Oh,
put it on
yeah.
herself.
Very weird. Here you go. Slips it on.
Right. Uh, and then he takes on this like playful persona. So we saw him in the pods being mostly serious. There were some jokes, usually around like the painting and the I guess just around the painting, really. What else were they joking about?
Everything else was about the sisters.
But there's a shift in persona, and it reminds me of Carlton from season one, where in the pods he's one way. Not saying that the sexuality thing is similar, but just saying like it was such a stark contrast. Like now he's joking too much. Like she's asking him, "Can you please stop? Like stop stealing the moment." And he's just play, 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 play. This is the kid in the man's body coming out.
Hmm.
And so I think yeah,
He
this is
can't
not
read
going
the
to work.
room. It's already, you took away from the romantic moment by not getting on one knee and by handing her the ring to put on for herself. She's trying to be nice, asking you to stop. You're stealing looks at her boobs. And then he's like, oh, well, I'm going to keep doing it. He has that
Isn't that
petty
what
energy.
Carlton? Isn't that what Carlton did to Diamond? Where he'd be like, "Oh yeah, you do this," or like I'm dominant over you. Like it just isn't that the same way he was when they went to Mexico or wherever they went.
Mm-hmm.
Something's not right. Like, I don't think he knows how to be with a woman. Like, I don't think he knows how to be with a woman. Why are you laughing?
Because when you say it like that on face value, I don't think he knows how to be with a woman. It can go two ways.
Okay, that's why I had to repeat it and say I don't know if he knows how to be with a woman. Like the I don't think anything with his I don't think I'm not questioning his sexuality in any way. I think he just does not know how to be a gentleman and how to treat a woman. That's what
And
I mean.
let's go back to the reveal. So they embrace. He's kissing. You could tell he wants more kisses, and then she kind of like pushes him away. Did
A
you see
lot.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I can't read Alex. I don't know. I think she got annoyed at the end. I think initially she was nervous. She was excited. She did lean into him to give him a hug when they first sat down. But I think she left just kind of annoyed. Even how he walked her back to her door. I, I don't know.
I don't like where this is going. I feel like it's going to be a catastrophe. And we haven't seen episodes 5 and 6 yet, so maybe it starts to be a catastrophe then. But I guarantee on the honeymoon something's gonna happen with these two.
And then I think once again at the reveal, he did bring up his sisters again. Um,
You
what?
know, Alex has a tell. Like the way she was playing with her hair, it's like, girl, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't need to be fixed. You don't even have a mirror. Like something she's not receiving this well, in my opinion.
And then he asked her, "Oh, did you envision what I would look like, or do you like what you see?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, you're cute." Just the way she said it, I was like, I don't know if she really thinks it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair. And then we have Monica and
Steven.
Steven, who also didn't get down and ask her when they saw each other. He just kind of slid the ring on without asking.
They
I
do have a pretty long, warm embrace, a long kiss. She says, "Oh, you're cute."
I said maybe we missed some of the storyline because she keeps talking about, oh, he's such a great guy. You know
Reminds
what?
him of her. He reminds her of her dad. So I'm like, there must have been more there.
That we didn't see. But you know what I hate? When the man gives this long speech for the proposal and then the lady gives a long speech in response. I'm like, girl, you have one line. Here it
I
is.
do.
Yes or no. Like she gave a long speech in response and I just didn't think it was necessary.
I mean,
But
the reveal, I liked it. They give each other a twirl. It was very cute. Lots of kissing. They both seemed to be really excited.
I am
And so,
surprised.
yeah, I like the
No.
energy at the reveal, and I wrote there must have been more there than what we saw.
You know
So
why I'm surprised? I wrote in my notes, I know Miyosha's gonna hate that she gave him a compliment first. So I am shocked
I
that
did
you
write it
did.
down.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wrote down that she said first, "Oh, you're so cute. You're so handsome." Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Marissa and Ramses. Oh, this was the Cancer Leo thing, so we don't have to talk about. But something that I want to mention when she's like, "Oh, are you a handyman?" And he's like, "I mean, I could figure it out." You just saying what she wants to hear at this point. You're not a he ain't no diva, and it's okay. You don't have to be a handyman,
Yeah. I mean, go on Task Rabbit, Thumbtack.
right? And also, he's a Will Ferrell fan, but he doesn't like Elf. Really, I felt like at this point he was just saying to her what she wanted to hear because
Mm,
I Elf is his best movie or one
yeah,
of.
definitely. Yeah, one of the most known. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But his letter that he wrote to her, "You are the love I desire." I think that's great. She ate it up. She keeps talking about how she loves how progressive he is, which again leads me to the relationship that she was in for 3 years. I want to know how that ended it seems like she's shifting towards someone who's more progressive in thinking. So I want to know what happened there. All right. Okay, so I guess we can end with Hannah and Nick.
Yeah, the only thing I had was the proposal.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? It went from I feel like this man is gonna break my heart to you're the love of my life. And it reminded me of Housewives when Nini's like, it went from 8 to 6 to 4 because how did I don't understand how we get from he's gonna break my heart to you're the love of my life.
I think there's a bit of desperation in this love square. They just want to move forward in the process, just want to be picked, and they all have their different reasons. So
And then lastly, I thought it was funny that they didn't show anybody reacting to their engagement. Like usually the girls will come in and all the women are around them like yay yay yay. Nobody they didn't show that. They
you know
didn't
why
show
they
it
didn't
to
have
me.
time? Because this square we have going on has taken up way too much.
It's
It
exhausting.
has. Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting. All right, so that's episode 1 through 4. We're gonna catch up on 5 and 6 and do a review on that. So make sure you are subscribed so that you can see when we post that. And please let us know if you felt like we're too hard or too easy on people. Let us know your thoughts. We want to know what other people are saying because we haven't watched any reviews. So our comments will be our source of what the streets are saying.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Until next time, bye.
Bye.